Hey friends, TUXX here. I want to do a follow-up video on the Sony NW-A306, and especially in regards to Apple Music. I keep getting questions about does it work with Apple Music, etc., etc. So I wanted to go ahead and dive a little deeper into that subject for this particular video. In fact, I recently had a comment in the last 24 hours about this very thing. So we're going to address these particular questions as are very common across other videos as well with the Sony NW-A306. Now, before I go further, I do want to mention I will have a link for the Sony NW-A306 down below. It's a great little player, makes an amazing gift, and it's something I would definitely recommend as far as a $300-ish DAP HD music player, you know, digital audio player. So anyway, guys, great little player, love it. And as far as Apple Music goes, I'll be totally honest with you guys. Do I use Apple Music? Not really. I have before in the past, and I've spent plenty of time and money buying stuff on iTunes. In fact, I remember going back to the original launch of iTunes, and I loved it. And I did the whole Pepsi contest with the free codes, and I have a pretty extensive music collection, my early MP3 collection. A lot of them were iTunes, quite honestly. I had the original iPods, and I loved them for many years before I started getting into other types of players. So I will give Apple props as far as being a good gateway drug to getting into, you know, digital audio. You know, now, is there better ways of doing this? Perhaps, okay, without diving too deep into it, I prefer to own my own DSF files, DSD files, you know, and FLAC files. I find that's the superior music format, but I know a lot of you guys love Apple Music, and that's cool. That's nothing wrong with that at all. Especially, it's a great way of having, you know, access to thousands or millions of songs, you know, in a quality format that's quite enjoyable, okay? So without further ado, you know, the question, can you use the iTunes program or Apple Music on the Sony NW-A306? And the good news is yes, you can, okay? Because this particular player here is a Android device with access to the Google Play Store, you can use a variety of different streaming services, you know, everything from Tidal, you know, to Amazon Music, and so many more. And of course, that does include Apple Music, okay? So if you wanted to use Apple Music on here, what you need to do, okay, is basically just go to the main desktop, and you can see from here, I've already installed it, but you just go to the Google Play Store, and from that point there, see the Play Store, from there you can actually download, you know, any kind of streaming services, you know, including Apple Music. Now, for Apple Music, I did just download it here for this video, so you can see there is Apple icon right there for Apple Music. We're going to click that. It's going to open up to Apple Music, as you can see, and there you go. And then from here, it wants to improve proxy. I'm going to say no to that. If you want right now, there is a 1-month free trial to Apple Music, so that might be a great way to go, especially if you're giving this as a gift or just testing things out and you don't have a whole lot of music files. That might be a good way to go. You know, Tidal is another company I would recommend as well, okay? For me, I'm not going to try it for free. I think right now, 1 month of Apple Music for, whoa, that's kind of tempting, guys. Oh, God, should I do that? I don't know. Oh, let's go ahead. I'm going to sign in here. Let's see if it allows me to still get the free month with my current Apple subscription. All right, so logged into Apple Music here. Once again, it's giving me a banner ad here saying, explore 100 million songs for free. Plus, make share playlists and listen offline. Plan auto renews at $10.99 a month until canceled. See all plans, okay? Try it free. So if I click try it free, it automatically defaults to basically cancel anytime subscription, Google, $10.99 a month starting today, $10.99 a month. So I kind of feel like it's going to charge me $10.99 a month, like immediately. It doesn't say like, you know, free for 30 days. We'll send you a notice when we're 7 days to charging you, and then, you know, you can cancel anytime. It just basically says $10.99 a month today. And then if I cancel that, okay, then it goes like, let's see all plans. All plans for me, it says individual music plan, $10.99 a month. And it looks like there's family plan for $16.99 a month up to 6 people. That's a pretty good deal if you're a family, I guess. And then college music student, $5.99 per month. But again, it doesn't really give me a free option. So I'm going to close this, and then it kind of takes it back to, there we go, eventually takes it back to the main landing page. Now, I will say that I have used Apple Music on here before. And I'll tell you the truth, it sounds good. It really does. Does it sound as good as a DSF file? No, in my opinion, it does not. But it sounds more than good enough. Like, it sounds great. I would say the quality of it is definitely as good as maybe Apple Music or Tidal. If I was to really make like a kind of a comparison, I kind of feel like every now and then, like Amazon Music, their HD level of music might sound a little bit better than this one. I'd have to do a deep dive into comparison of them, but they all sound good enough, so please don't take that as a negative. If you're in the Apple ecosystem, and if that's something that you really want to be able to play Apple Music, it's not a bad way to go, you know. And again, it has all your different things. And again, my only thing I'd say that is an initial negative for me is the fact that A, it offers a free month and then doesn't give it to me. And then B, the fact that the suggestions it has for me really are not particularly geared to me. So that's a little bit weird. But it does have some good things. You can listen to like top music by like different cities, make it, you know, world music, all sorts of stuff has coming soon. You know, obviously this is a popular music service that a lot of people really do enjoy, and I don't blame anyone for enjoying it. Just know there is other options out there, but also know that this particular player, although it's not an Apple product, can use Apple Music. Okay, the next question is, what is the maximum SD card size that you can use in here, okay? And the answer to that, honestly, is you want to use the smallest card size you can use that gives you a little extra room, okay? A lot of them output 512s in a lot of my players. You know, oftentimes that's a good size for me, but it's really bigger than I need. So sometimes I'll go down to a smaller card even, because what happens is if you have like a 512 card in here, but you have, you know, half that size or less in music files, then it's going to be a situation where you have a larger scan area. So if your Sony NW-A or any player is going to start like booting up, it looks at what's on the player, you know, so at least for a split second or two, it's going to be like loading up and kind of like looking at what's on the card. And if you have an extremely large card but nothing on it, that adds a slight, and it is very slight, but a slight amount of time involved in it kind of like booting up, you know. So I really recommend using the smallest card you can use with a little extra room. So that is really a personal choice. I think in a lot of cases 512 is a pretty good card size. Some people have used bigger, and oftentimes the spec that is listed on the website, and there will be a link for the Sony NW-A down below, you can check out the specs like beyond this video, but lots of times you can use cards bigger than what they actually show. It's more like that's a recommendation, and you can go larger, you know. It just depends, but you want to use a smaller card if possible. That way you can actually, you know, have not a whole lot of unnecessary scannable space when it comes time to boot up the device. I hope that makes sense. Okay, now as far as, you know, the quality of playback, okay, both Apple Music and Tidal offer very similar 24-bit 192 kilohertz on high-res playback, okay, so they're very, very similar. Numbers are not always everything, though, to be perfectly honest with you, and a lot of people tell me that they believe that Tidal is slightly sharper than Apple Music, you know, and I have to agree. I believe that Apple Music sounds great. It really does. But if I had to listen to the same song both on Tidal and on Apple, for me personally, using this player and official Sony headphones or the noise canceling earbuds, the flagship models, and I'll have links for those as well right below, I think Tidal sounds just slightly better to me, okay? A little bit sharper, a little bit more HD, but they're very, very similar, you know? So if you're in the Apple ecosystem and you only use Apple products, but you're trying to make that switch to something different, don't take that as a negative. Keep using Apple, you know, Music on here, and it will sound amazing for you. But if given the choice for me personally, I would actually end up taking Tidal a little bit over Apple Music, you know, and oftentimes Tidal does offer Dolby Atmos and the Sony 360 reality support, where Apple does not, okay, for Sony 360. And being the fact that you're kind of getting into the Sony ecosystem a little bit, it might be good to use, you know, some, you know, a service, you know, headphones that support everything this player has to offer to get your maximum benefit out of it, or at least try it once and kind of see if to you it makes a difference. I love the Sony 360 reality audio support, and I use it, and it has little awards, and it's really, really good. Like, it sounds amazing. And I will say, they're noise canceling headphones. My scooter, truth be told, the muffler's a little bit loud, you know, and when I'm cranking down the road at 40 miles per hour on a scooter and that muffler's going, you know, buzzing it up, like the Sony noise canceling canceling headphones to me are a great choice. The fact that it's really magical. When you hear that noise canceling kick in, it's like night and day. It really is, to me, life changing, you know. And the fact that they offer the Sony 360 support, you know, on those headphones or earbuds and this player, you know, is really great too. Now, another important thing to consider, okay, about Apple is the fact that Apple's music's lossless audio is not supported on Apple's wireless headphones, okay, and that includes AirPods Max, okay. So to really take full advantage of the high-res lossless music on Apple Music, you'd need to be connected to a DAC, a DAC, or, you know, not Apple headphones, you know. So that's something, that's a whole nother conversation, but definitely something worth considering. Now, people have asked, you know, does the Sony NW-A306 and the Sony XM5 have maximum support for 24-bit 96 kilohertz music, okay? And the answer is they're two different things altogether. The Sony NW-A306 supports audio playback at 24-bit up to 384 kilohertz, okay, in a bunch of formats, including, you know, WAV, FLAC, Apple lossless, and that is Apple lossless 16-bit, 24-bit, 8 kilohertz to 384 kilohertz. It's just that Apple Music maybe doesn't have all their music files at the highest rate of that spectrum of possible options, you know. So basically it means that the NW-A306 can support, you know, audio, best quality HD audio at 2496, not a problem. Now, when it comes to the Sony WH-1005 XM5, okay, those headphones are a little bit more limited in maximum support, okay, when using Bluetooth, okay, so you really want to have like a wired connection. Basically, the WH-1000 XM5 can support 24-bit to 96 audio, that's 96 kilohertz, when using LDAC codec over Bluetooth, okay? And that's the reason why I always talk about, I really prefer using wired connections over wireless connections, you know? Although I will tell you again, even when using the wireless Sony flagship, you know, earbuds, they sound amazing, you know, on this player, you know, listening to music with loud outsized elements, you know, they sound really, really good with the noise canceling. So I do recommend those particular earbuds, but ultimately when it really comes down to it, a wired connection's always best. Now, I get a lot of questions about battery life, okay, and this player, and I keep my players plugged in, fully charged, pretty much at all times. Now, keep in mind, if you go back in the video queue, I'm getting tongue-tied, and if you go back in the video queue, you'll see that I have a lot of players, okay, no doubt, and I do keep them all charged, and I do listen to them at different times, you know, for different reasons, and this player is a great, you know, sounding player. It's a great $300 price point, and I listen to it a lot, okay, and I tend to listen to it both with wired and wireless, truth be told. I do use wireless sometimes when outside, maybe going to the beach or something, or, you know, some format, some activity where I don't want wires around, you know, but you do lose a little quality with that, you know. If you are streaming music, it is going to run faster out of batteries than it would if you're using files which are actually on the player itself. And that's another reason why I really recommend using players, or, you know, music files that are downloaded to the player, you know, or that you own, you know, real, you know, purchased or ripped MP3s, WAV files, DSF files, etc., FLAC, etc., you know, then streaming, because streaming will cut down the battery juice. But with that being said, I really don't have a problem, like, with this thing running dry. Like, I don't have a lot of scenarios I can think of where over the course of my day, like, my day was almost over, I'm trying to go home or something, and it's like, oh, rats, like, I'm out of juice, I can't listen to music. Like, that doesn't really happen. I keep my players charged all the time, you know, and then I listen to them typically with music files on the device, although I do sometimes stream Sirius XM radio for something which is not really HD necessarily, but I do listen to that as a streaming service sometimes, and I do enjoy that quite a bit. But again, for the highest quality files on the device, you know, you have high quality files to start, high quality player to listen to them on, and then high quality headphones to match. That's the trifecta of what you want to get the most out of HD music. But again, sometimes I know you want those Bluetooth headphones, but that will use a little bit more juice and you'll lose a little bit of quality. Okay, and then finally this particular viewer writes, and I've heard this question before, they want to pair the Sony NW-A306 along with their older, but still very useful, Sony XM4s. Will that work? Sure, it'll sound great. It'll definitely work. The XM4s actually have a few slight advantages over the newer ones. Just the fact that the headphones, if it is the headphone version, you can turn the cone either way. The Sony XM4s also are a little bit cheaper. They're going for about $250, which is a little bit less than the XM5s. But, you know, again, they're both great headphones, and you really can't go wrong either way. But you may want to just look at both of them and kind of see what the current prices is. I mean, if it's like the XM4s are, you know, normally cheaper because they're one model back, but then maybe the XM5s are on sale, they could be very similar in price. If it was a matter of buying the XM4s or the XM5s, and we're talking the Sony, you know, WH-1000 XM4s, you know, over-the-ear headphones, or the same XM5s over-the-ear headphones, I would go with the newer model, quite frankly. Okay, so in conclusion, will Apple Music work on here? Yes, it will. Will it sound great? Sure, it will. Is there other better options that sound better? Yes. But again, if you're in the Apple ecosystem, if you're part of a family where you're already paying for Apple Music, will it work great for you? It definitely will. And you'll have a great music experience with it too. And quite frankly, I think it'd be great enjoying it on a device that's not Apple. You know, we need to try and teach Apple, train Apple to play nice with other hardware. Because honestly, Apple make great devices, but that is kind of their one Achilles heel, where they really like to keep you trapped into that Apple ecosystem. You know, and with things where you hear rumors about them like making the batteries run dry quicker, or making the iPhones like, you know, run slower when you don't have the current model. Like those type of shenanigans really put a bad taste in my mouth. As much as I love Apple and I've loved their products in the past, like right now my phone is a Sony Xperia, you know, Xperia 1 Mark V, don't mind the greasy marks. This suede case is great, by the way, too. There's a video back in the queue. But I use other brands besides Apple, and I'm not someone who hates Apple. I love Apple. They've done amazing things over the years, but I'm just not someone who's locked into only using Apple, and I'm not someone who is like trapped in that ecosystem where I'm some kind of Apple defender or whatever. I go wherever the best hardware is. I want the best experience for me, and if Apple delivers that, that's cool. That's awesome. But I don't say, I'm not like just an Apple fanboy that says yes to anything Apple. Like, I really compare the numbers and things. And with Apple over the years, sometimes they've done amazing things, like bringing out like the iPhone originally and the original iPod. Like, that was life-changing for me having my first iPod. But there's other times they pull some shenanigans where they'll be on stage. This goes back to like Steve Jobs' keynotes, where he'll be like, you know, we use the fastest RAM. And they do these little things where they'll skip over numbers. And then when you really look into it, the RAM they're using is like last year's RAM, and every other big company out there, Alienware or whatever, is using the newer RAM, you know. So be careful about that with Apple, where oftentimes they like to lock you into an ecosystem, and oftentimes they'll give some numbers when it's in their favor, and then other times other numbers on hardware they'll kind of like skim over and use terms like the best or the fastest without giving real tech specs. So you really don't know if that best is best, or are they just saying that? Is that just their opinion on the slower RAM? And maybe they can defend that somehow, but I really wish that Apple would be more forthcoming in naming all their spec numbers instead of glossing over some, especially with like little components like RAM and things like that. Okay? All right, friends. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, reach out to me, tuxtoys@gmail.com. You guys know I'm here to help. Sorry this was such a deep dive. I really wanted to try and go through some of these questions a little bit more in detail. Hopefully it wasn't too much for you guys. I guess there's always a fast forward button. Again, the link for this product here and other products mentioned in this video will be in the description, okay? Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Click the link.